From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
And there's SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on News Channel 5 Plus. Talking a lot of football again tonight. We can carry over the conversation from last night about the Titans and the disappointing loss to the Giants on Sunday at Nissan Stadium, and what has to be different this week as they get set for Monday Night Football in Buffalo against the Bills. What are you looking for to be different? How concerned are you after the effort on Sunday and what happened in that second half against the Giants team nobody expects to be very good this year? What are you looking for with this Titans team? Our phone line is open, 737-7767, if you'd like to join us here tonight. We'll also talk some college football coming up later in the program. It's that time of year where you start to get a little bit of a better feel of what these college teams are going to look like. Tennessee, big win at Pitt. 2-0, up to number 15 in the country. They've got a game where they are huge favorites this weekend against Akron before Florida comes to town next week in a massive early season showdown. You'll find out a lot more about the Vols in that matchup, but if you're Josh Heupel, you got to protect a little bit this week about the sandwich game. You had a huge road victory in overtime last week. Next week, you have a huge first conference game against one of your rivals in a ranked versus ranked matchup. And here you are this week in the middle with a team that, frankly, you should blow out. Is Tennessee mature enough to handle that? That'll be an interesting question. Vanderbilt, how does it bounce back after losing to Wake Forest? A road trip this week to Northern Illinois, a better than you might expect Northern Illinois team, by the way. So there's another challenge for Clark Lee's team, and that process of maturation within the Vanderbilt program. There's no question they're better than they were a year ago. Just how much better, and can they continue to get better from this point? They've made huge strides from this time last year. They've made big strides from the end of last season. But we saw last week against Wake Forest, there's a long way to go. Can they tack on to what they've done so far and continue to improve as the season goes along in meaningful ways that lead to tangible results? Tennessee State's had a rough going in the FCS so far. A couple of difficult matchups at Eastern Washington and then against Deion Sanders and Jackson State last week in the Southern Heritage Classic. TSU 0-2 now. And it gets an even bigger test as it goes to Middle Tennessee this week. That'll be kind of fun. You got a mid-state matchup there. Tennessee State feeling like it's better than the 0-2 record and needs to get things going here on the season. And Middle Tennessee coming off an impressive win out of Colorado State. First home game of the season there at Floyd Stadium and a chance to get to 2-1 for head coach Rick Stockstill. You start to feel like you get a little bit better sense of who these teams are at this point in time. Back to the Titans. We're going to take some time to figure out exactly where this team is. Last year they lost in week 1 and you thought, gosh, that was a terrible performance. But there's a lot of pieces on this team. They're better than that, right? And they bounced back in a big way in week 2. They bounced back in a huge way in Seattle. And so that was kind of a similar situation. You lose at home in week 1, although the Cardinals were a solid team last year, especially early. That wasn't quite as shocking as losing at home to the Giants on Sunday. But in week 2 last year, you were headed off to Seattle to take on Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in one of the most intimidating environments in the NFL. And there was a very real chance that the Titans could have started 0-2. But they found a way to get themselves back in that game and win it in overtime and avoid that 0-2 distinction. Now, this year, everybody's counting them out, going to Buffalo for Monday Night Football against a Bills team that throttled the reigning Super Bowl champs in the second half last Thursday night. Buffalo is going to be a considerable favorite in that game. Nobody's going to give Tennessee a chance to go up there and win. But that's a situation they are familiar with, maybe even comfortable with. And these two teams are very familiar with each other. And we'll find out just what the Titans have in them in that game. We'll also find out if they can get the running game going more after getting outrushed 238-93 by the Giants Can Derrick Henry really get going in the way we're accustomed to? It always seems to take him a bit at the beginning of the season, but then once he gets going, he really gets going. And so we'll find out that coming up Monday night and over the next few weeks. Can the Titans wide receivers become more of a consistent threat for Ryan Tannehill? Will Austin Hooper and the tight end show up in week 2 in a way they did not against the Giants on Sunday? And that defense, we expect it to be good, and there were flashes against New York, but the run defense was putrid. That's something that they pride themselves on. Will it be better? Will it be what we expect? Can the pass rush continue to look like it did on Sunday? They were great against Daniel Jones. Can they be just as effective getting after Josh Allen? That is a big challenge. And then that secondary. For the most part, they were good, except for the one huge play allowed when Christian Fulton got caught looking in the backfield and Sterling Shepard beat him downfield for a 65-yard touchdown. How will that secondary hold up against what is a well-balanced Bills receiving core, headlined, of course, by Stephon Diggs? Those are the big questions coming into this week. We'll get much more into that. We'll hear from a bunch of Titans as well as we move along. Our phone line's open, 737-7767, the number. And we begin tonight with Hassan. Hassan, good evening and welcome to SportsLine.
Good evening. I was wondering, why do we keep the Tannehill out there and don't let the young quarterback to get some practice?
Well, they're not going to do that in the regular season because you got to win. You got to win these games, and Ryan Tannehill is clearly the best quarterback on this team right now, and so he gives them the best chance to win. If they get to a situation where they're up, it was 13-0 at the half Saturday. If they could have taken control and maybe put on a couple more scores and go up 24, 27, 30-0, something like that, well, then I think you'd see Malik Willis, and they would absolutely try to get him real NFL game reps. But this time of year, you got to win football games, and Ryan Tannehill unquestionably gives the Titans their best chance to win right now. So it's his team, it's his game, and it's going to be his reps until it is a blowout one way or another. Malik Willis got a bunch of reps in the preseason for that reason. They wanted to get him looks. They wanted to get him on the field in the preseason. But you're not going to see that in the regular season unless it's a blowout or Ryan Tannehill gets hurt.
Well, don't you think Ron Tannehill was the one that caused of the Super Bowl last year?
Oh, he was.
He just when he get excited, he start missing.
Well, he was terrible.
He's getting too old. I'm sorry. Go ahead. He's getting too old.
I don't know if he's too old or not. There are plenty of quarterbacks in this league. I can think of Tom Brady in Tampa, Aaron Rodgers up there in Green Bay. Some really, really good quarterbacks that are significantly older than Tannehill is right now. He absolutely cost them in the Cincinnati game, and we have been over that on this program. It has been dissected. Ryan Tannehill talked about needing a sports counselor after that game and trying to figure out exactly how he could come back from that and be better. But he got over that, just like the team did, and it's now a new season. He was excellent in training camp, and he was pretty darn good on Sunday against the Giants with an offense that struggled at times and guys who dropped passes for him and weren't always open, and a line that had some holding penalties and all of that, and a running game, frankly, that didn't live up to the hype in week number 1. Tannehill has to prove himself throughout the course of this year, but for right now, he is absolutely the best option the Titans have.
Well, I will listen what you're saying, but in my own opinion, I'm a left-brain engineer. I think Tannehill, whenever he's under pressure, he got too excited and he start playing not the way he should. When he's good, he's in a training camp, there is no pressure. He plays well. On the beginning of the game, no pressure. He plays well. But if he really gets serious, he'll start missing. And that's a fact. Now you can... I could be wrong. It's not my first time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been married 3 times.
Well,
I feel like that under pressure, he just cannot handle it anymore. He's getting old for it.
Well, Hassan,
45.
Hassan, I appreciate your call and I appreciate your thoughts on that. Here's the deal with Ryan Tannehill. In the regular season as a Titans starting quarterback, his numbers match up with every other quarterback in the league. Going into last season, he was neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes for the most wins, and frankly, statistically as well, since he became the starting quarterback in Tennessee during the 2019 season. And last year, he led the Titans to the #1 seed in the AFC. So the win numbers didn't get any worse for Tannehill in that time. As a regular season quarterback, he's stacked up with some of the best in the league, the absolute best in the league, during his time as the Titans quarterback. The thing to complain about Tannehill is what has he done in the postseason. Last year, 3 interceptions against the Bengals in the divisional round in an upset loss at home. 2 years ago, he didn't play very well in an upset loss to the Ravens at home in round 1 of the playoffs. And even 3 years ago, when the Titans got to the AFC Championship game, when you look at the numbers, they're not great. It was not Ryan Tannehill who led the Titans offensively to that AFC Championship game. It was Derrick Henry who ran for like 500 yards in 2 games. That's how the Titans made the AFC Championship game in 2019. Ryan Tannehill has been a great regular season quarterback. There are a whole bunch of questions about his ability to lead a team to a significant run in the playoffs if it falls on him. And he can't just be a game manager and get a Herculean-type performance from Derrick Henry. So to me, the pressure when it comes to Ryan Tannehill is all about the postseason. I expect him to have a good season this year with the Titans. And there are questions about the weapons around him. But I still expect him to have a good season. The question comes if they're able to make it to the playoffs and he gets back in that situation, can he change the narrative that he's not a playoff quarterback or that he can't lead Tennessee to wins or to a Super Bowl? That is ultimately where he's going to have to prove it, and we're not going to get that answer for a few months. Back to the phones we go. Say hello to John. John, what's going on tonight?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Jump on, yeah. Okay. Hey, I want to ask you, okay, what about the backup quarterback? Do you think that y'all could get him in the mix or something on special plays?
I don't think so, just because I don't think that's much of what their offense is, but maybe. I mean, maybe there will be a special package here and there, but generally in the NFL, there aren't that many plays. You get about 60 offensive plays a game, and if you think your #1 quarterback's the guy, and the Titans believe right now that Ryan Tannehill's the guy, you're not going to try to get the #2 guy on the field all that often. So am I ruling out anything with Malik Willis in a game plan sense? No. Maybe there will be a couple plays throughout the course of the year. But I think it's Ryan Tannehill's ship until either he gets hurt or you're looking at a game that's a blowout one way or the other. John, you got anything else?
No, that's it. That's all.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your call tonight. And our phone lines remain open, 737-7767. More of your phone calls, more analysis of the Titans. Plus, we'll hear from some of the Titans, including Mike Vrabel. Straight ahead, this is SportsLine on News Channel 5+.